The fundamental primary commandment of our faith is to love God with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus adds a kind of nuance to this. He says this second commandment is like the first one. So loving each other, loving your neighbor, is somehow related to loving God. These are connected things. And so that's a commandment incumbent on all of us, to love our neighbors. However, loving our neighbor does not mean the same thing as trusting our neighbor. The gospel that I just read today gives us a different part of the story. Jesus says something dramatic, really dramatic if you pay attention to it. Jesus says, "All who came before me are thieves and robbers." Now we're supposed to still love them, but they are thieves and robbers. The thief comes to kill and steal and destroy. There's something interesting here that's worth reflecting on. Jesus, in commanding us on the one hand to love, and to love even to the point where we turn the other cheek, where we love our enemies even, is not telling us to be constant victims all the time, and to just fall for every scam, and to just be entirely trusting of every single human being. It's not our job to judge them at all. It is God's job to judge them. But it's my business, it's our business, to figure out who deserves what amount of trust, who deserves to be let inside. And it's one thing to love somebody, it's another thing to let them inside. And Jesus says that he who does not enter by the door is a thief. And to the shepherd, the gatekeeper opens, but only to the shepherd. The gate he's talking about is the gate of our hearts. And the people that we let in, fundamentally, it really is primarily Jesus himself, who we should trust with all our heart and all our soul. He's the one we should let in. Who else gets to come in? Let's look at the thief. The thief comes in to steal and kill and destroy. What is it to steal? What is it when somebody is a thief and wants to steal from us? At the very least, it's somebody who uses us for some other purpose. We're a customer to them. They want to sell us a product. They're interested in us mostly for our money, something like that. The internet is full of basically people like this. Because when you click on something on the internet, at some point somebody's going to make some money when you do that. And so that's why social media, things like that, this is really it's a money-making kind of enterprise. Again, there's nothing evil about that, but that means a little skepticism is a good thing. Don't believe everything you see. Because even if they're not selling you an actual physical product, they're going to say things that are going to encourage more and more and more clicks. And so it's the most dramatic and slightly crazy people that make the most money on the internet. Again, nothing evil about that in itself, but be careful who you trust. That's one. But in general, just make that a pattern. Keep that in mind. Most people are out for themselves. That's just the fact of human nature. We should still love them. We should still pray for them. We should still even help them. Even if they're enemies, we should love them. But we shouldn't trust them. Christ is the shepherd. He's the one that is willing to even sacrifice himself to take care of us. Nobody else is really a shepherd. Nobody else really cares about us the way Christ does. And Christ, rather than using us for his profit like almost everybody else does, he says the shepherd calls his sheep by name. To Jesus, we are not a customer. We are ourselves. We are persons. And he knows our name and he cares about who we are. Not like, I don't know, the sort of slick businessman, hey, what's your name? And then it's like, part of business etiquette to use somebody's name a lot, that's awesome. But they don't really care what your name is. They're learning it, again, to sell you a product. Jesus calls us by name, and our heart is naturally built to know when his voice is calling us. And when we're a little bit suspicious, I guess what I'm trying to advise you guys is trust your gut. When somebody comes across in the wrong way, there's something weird about that. Again, don't judge them, don't be mean to anybody, but let somebody earn your trust little by little. And if they say, I'm not out for some kind of gain or some kind of profit, let them prove that to you with their actions. Second, the thief comes not just to steal, but to kill. Some people are not out about profit. They act in anger. And it's not about, I want to use you for something. There's something inside of them that wants to lash out. People of violence. And I think gossip is a part of this. Because we don't realize this, and it's a really ugly, sad fact of human nature, and especially of a community that's as close as ours. A little tiny bit of gossip can really ruin people's lives. And I cannot number the number of times where I've heard a rumor about somebody, and I'll say, are you sure? And 100%, there's no doubt in my mind. Everybody knows this. Do you know how many things I've heard that everybody knows that turned out to be total lies? All the time. Be careful who you trust. And I've heard this, and I think it seems fairly true to me, that just pay attention. If somebody is willing to gossip with you about somebody else, what do you think they're doing when you're not around? Who do you think they're talking about when you're not around? Be careful. And if something is your business, and if somebody's life is your business, go and talk to them. And if it's not your business, find something else to talk about. It really is as simple as that. And if you run out of things to talk about, I have some scriptures you can read and you can discuss those. The thief comes to steal and to kill and to destroy. Aside from Christ and those who live in Christ in fullness, who are really rare, maybe they don't want to sell a product to you, and maybe they don't want to destroy you or kill you. But they definitely want less for you than for themselves. It's very hard to find somebody who will not envy your success. And again, what they say, they'll say all kinds of beautiful things to you. But it's just kind of built into us, because we're fallen, that we want more for ourselves. And so something in us kind of enjoys when somebody else has less than we do. It's a very sick, sad part of us, but it's there. And it's there in a lot of people. And again, they could be the kindest, nicest person in the world on the surface. And again, don't judge anybody, but be careful who you let in, who you trust. And opposed to that, Christ wants to give us life and give it abundantly. Christ thinks not at all about himself and what he has. He wants to give us, and he wants us to have more and more and more. So he is the shepherd, and yet, once in a while, you'll meet somebody who lives as Christ lives. I think what Christ wants us to do is take our time, get to know them, especially when it comes to very close friendships, especially when it comes to a spouse or a partner in some other serious, important thing. Take our time, because there's an old kind of it's almost a parable. It's something that comes all the way back to the time of Socrates. That when you meet somebody who's older, who hates everybody, who doesn't trust them at all, who's just mean and just a misanthrope, can't stand anybody around them, Socrates makes, I think, a correct point. He says, you know how that person got that way? They got that way because when they were young, they trusted people too much. And they got hurt over and over and over again. And because of that, they ended up hating everybody. The solution is to be a little bit skeptical at first and let them earn your trust little by little, rather than what the tendency of young people is. They meet somebody, they seem fun, they seem cool, and they just open their heart entirely. Just be a little bit careful. Your heart is the place where Christ wants to dwell with you. Your heart deserves to be opened to Christ and to people that are like him. Love everybody else. Put yourself out for them, for everybody. Pray for everybody. Take care of everybody, even your enemies. But letting people in, be really careful. Be the gatekeeper of your own heart, and let Christ be the shepherd and the door.